Hi, this is a brief microbiology review to prepare you to learn antibiotics. As you probably remember from microbiology, there are both gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. They differ mostly based on their cell wall. So the cell membrane, on the outside of the cell membrane in a gram-positive bacteria is a very thick layer of peptidoglycan. Gram-negative bacteria are different in that they have just a small layer of peptidoglycan, and then they have an outer membrane that consists of lipopolysaccharides, porins, as well as phospholipids. Gram staining is the first step in identifying an organism, and it's a quick way to figure out if the bacteria are gram-positive or gram-negative. So as you may remember from microbiology, gram-positive bacteria have that thick layer of peptidoglycan, and that holds the purple color in, and so that becomes a purple stain. They look purple underneath the microscope. Gram-negative bacteria will look reddish in color or pink in color under the microscope. And what helps me to remember this is that when you're in grade school, your teacher uses red ink to mark up all the negative comments, and so red is negative and purple is positive. Bacteria grow in many different shapes, so they could be round, or coccus is what they're called, or rod-shaped, bacillus. The coccus might present in clusters where they look kind of like grapes, like the staphylococci right there on the left, or maybe in chains or pairs. And then spirochetes tend to look like a corkscrew under the microscope. Some important gram-positive bacteria to remember are going to be broken down into either cocci or bacillus-shaped, so either round or rod-shaped. So the first bacteria to remember is going to be Staphylococcus, and this presents in clusters. So this Staphylococcus aureus is one of the most common bacteria that we talk about when it comes to antibiotics. And so we have both MSSA, which is methicillin-sensitive Staph aureus, or MRSA, as some people refer to it as MRSA, and this is methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Streptococcus is the next type of cocci, gram-positive cocci, and these are available in pairs and chains. So they look more like, I think of this as a strip of coccus, streptococcus, strip of coccus. So think of this more like a chain shape. They can also come in pairs. So on the right, you can see the picture where this is the chain, and then we have the pairs down here. So the common ones to remember with Streptococcus that you're going to see as far as pathogenic bacteria or bacteria that cause infection that we'll treat with antibiotics are going to be the Streptococcus pneumoniae, which is a common respiratory pathogen, Streptococcus pyogenes, which is also known as group A strep, as well as Viridans streptococci, which is found in your mouth, a common cause of dental caries or cavities. Enterococcus, this is going to be a gram-positive cocci, and they're typically found in chains. As far as the rod-shaped, we have two different types of gram-positives that we can see. Aerobes, meaning that they need oxygen, and anaerobes, meaning they don't need oxygen. So they're listed here for you. The gram-positive rod-shaped bacteria that need oxygen or aerobes are going to be your Bacillus, Listeria, Nocardia, and Corneobacterium. And anaerobes, you're going to have the Clostridium. This is a common infection called C. diff that you've probably heard of, Clostridium difficile, and then actinomyces. Important gram-negatives to know, again, you're going to have different shapes. So we have the diplococci. So this is when they're round like coccus, but then they present in this, it looks like two of the coccus kind of fused together. So the only one that we really talk about or that exists for this one that is pathogenic is going to be your Neisseria gonorrhea or Neisseria metagenesis. The Neisseria gonorrhea is going to be the pathogen for gonorrhea and meningitis for the other, as you might expect looking at the name. Bacillus or rod-shaped gram-negatives, there's quite a few of these. So again, we break it down into aerobes versus anaerobes. The first group of aerobes we're going to talk about are the Enterobacteriaceae family. There's quite a few bacteria that fall into this family, and I've listed several here that are most common. And the way that I remember this is PECS, so P-E-C-K-S-S. And that's going to be your Proteus, E. coli, Enterobacter, Citrobacter, Klebsiella, Serratia, and Salmonella. Pseudomonas, this is going to be one of your big, bad, nasty bugs that we talk about. A big focus of our antibiotic therapy is whether or not it covers Pseudomonas. This is a very common nosocomial pathogen, meaning a pathogen that is common and present in the hospitals or from the healthcare system. People out in the community likely are not going to have Pseudomonas as a pathogen. This comes from the healthcare system. Acinetobacter, Haemophilus influenzae, or as many people call it, H. flu, Helicobacter pylori. These are all gram-negative rods that are aerobes. Anaerobic gram-negative rods include Bacteroides, Prevotella, and Fusobacterium. And the little star next to the Acinetobacter and the H. flu means that these can also present as coccobacillus, meaning kind of in both forms. So you can see them both as coccus and as rod-shaped or bacillus. There are groups of bacteria that are unable to be gram-stained. And the first group we'll talk about are the atypical bacteria. And I remember this by thinking about a clam. And I don't know why this helps me, but it does. So maybe it will help you. It's a clam. So forget about the A, but otherwise CLM. So it's a typical clam. The atypical clam is Chlamydia, Legionella, and Mycoplasma. Another group that's unable to gram stain is going to be your Mycobacterium, and this is a type of acid-fast bacilli. So these are going to be, Mycobacterium is one of the species is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and obviously this is the bacteria that causes tuberculosis. Finally, you have the spirochetes like Treponema pallidum, which causes syphilis, and Borrelia burgdorferi, which causes Lyme disease. And these look like your little corkscrews, so there's a picture of it right down there. All right, that's it for your brief review of microbiology. Hopefully this helps you as we start to talk about the antibiotics. I did create a Quizlet for this set to help you study. So you can join my class. I'm going to continue to add study sets to the Quizlet, to the class. So I would encourage you to join the class. And then you're going to want to study this study set. It's the only one in there right now called Review of Microbiology. I would recommend that if you're going to do the flashcards, to start with the term and hit shuffle because I just kind of did them in order. So it's going to be real easy for you if you don't. This is the link directly to the flashcards, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Thanks.